Okay, let's dive right in. It is February 10th, 2026. And if you're a gamer, especially the kind of gamer who loves RPGs, your phone has probably been buzzing all morning.
Oh, absolutely. The group chats are on fire right now.
Because if you've been waiting to take one of the biggest, most ambitious adventures in gaming history on the go, well, you're going to need to circle a date on your calendar.
A very, very big circle. We are, of course, talking about the huge news on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
That's the one. Square Enix just dropped the announcement. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is officially coming to the Nintendo Switch 2.
And not like next year.
Soon.
So soon. The crazy part is the date. It's slated for June 3rd.
June 3rd, I mean, that is remarkably fast.
Right. It feels like we were just talking about the last game hitting the platform.
We were. And honestly, that's the most crucial piece of context here. This news is coming, as the reports say, hot off the heels of Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade landing on the Switch 2.
And usually that would make me nervous. Oh, 100%. A sequel announced that quickly after a port. It raises some eyebrows.
Yeah, my first reaction is always skepticism. When a publisher rushes a massive game onto a portable system this fast, it smells like a rush job.
You know, frame rates, blurry textures.
Exactly. The classic, we need to make our quarterly earnings kind of release.
We've all been burned by those cloud versions or those ports that can barely run. But I think this situation is different.
Okay.
So today we're going to do a deep dive into why this announcement is actually a signal of real confidence, not a cash grab. We're digging into the official coverage, the release details, and what this all means. Because playing this on a giant TV is one thing.
But playing a game of this scale on the bus is a whole different beast. We need to talk about how it runs, how the scope just explodes from the first game to this one, and of course, the mini games. From open worlds to pianos.
Bar games, pianos, and a massive narrative pivot. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
So let's start with the tech, because that's where the skepticism usually lives for me, and I bet for you listening too. You said this is hot off the heels of Remake Intergrade. Why is that giving you hope instead of anxiety?
Well, just think about the usual cycle for these ports. We've seen it a dozen times. A huge AAA game gets announced for a portable system.
And then silence. For years.
Exactly. The announced and then forgotten cycle. But here, we have Intergrade, the first part of this whole trilogy, already out on the Switch 2. And the source material makes a very specific, very loud point about that release.
I saw that. It said Intergrade is running extremely well.
Extremely well.
Yeah.
We have to just pause on those two words for a second. In the world of tech analysis, that's not a throwaway phrase.
No, you don't get to write that lightly. Usually you get, what, surprisingly playable.
Or an ambitious attempt. Good for a handheld, extremely well, is a badge of honor. It suggests that the Switch 2 isn't even breaking a sweat.
It implies headroom?
It implies headroom. Exactly. The architecture is robust enough that Square Enix isn't just stumbling across the finish line. They have momentum. The fact that Rebirth is coming just a few months later tells us the pipeline is clear. They aren't fighting the hardware, they're using it.
It's like they paved the road with Intergrade so Rebirth could just drive a sports car down it.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And they need that sports car because the technical demands of Rebirth are exponentially higher than Remake.
Right. And this is where anyone who only played the first game might need a quick refresher. Final Fantasy VII Remake. It had a very specific vibe. It was dense, industrial.
It was Midgar, a story about eco-terrorism in a giant steel city.
Yeah. The whole game was in that metropolis. Steel, steam, narrow alleys, reactors. It was beautiful, but it was contained. You were always in like a hallway or a tunnel.
It was a pressure cooker, both narratively and geographically. From a rendering standpoint, the hardware only had to worry about what was right in front of you. You didn't have to draw up mountain range 10 miles away.
But with Rebirth, the source material says that script is getting flipped completely.
Completely. The text explicitly says the party escapes the metropolis. And here's the key phrase that changes all the math for the hardware. They're off to explore several sprawling open biomes across the planet.
Sprawling open biomes? That just, it sounds expensive for the processor.
It sounds massive. And that's why the performance of the first game is so important. Moving from a contained city to open biomes is a huge leap in draw distance, lighting, foliage, everything.
It's funny, when I hear biomes, I don't just think a big field, I think diversity.
Right.
Grasslands, swamps, deserts, maybe mountains. It's not just leaving the city, it's entering an entire ecology.
Precisely. And if you connect that to the feeling of the adventure, In Midgar, you're fighting a guerrilla war in a closet. In Rebirth, you're on a journey. The world is getting bigger for the characters, so it has to get bigger for the player.
I love that. The map is a reflection of their state of mind. They're finally free. Well, sort of. Because even with all this open space, they aren't exactly on a vacation, are they?
Not even close. This is where the story beats from our source get really interesting. You'd think open world means relaxing, but the motivation here is pure stress.
Okay, let's look at the text. It says, the party is not only on the run from the forces of Shinra, but also in pursuit of the powerful Sephiroth.
That's a classic pincer narrative. You've got a threat behind you, Shinra, and a goal ahead of you, Sephiroth.
It's the ultimate road trip from hell. You're being hunted while you're hunting.
And they are, as the source notes, in search of answers. And that phrase, in search of answers, I think it's doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
What do you mean?
Well, what answers are they even looking for? Cloud thinks he knows who Sephiroth is. He thinks he knows his own past.
But we know Cloud is a complicated narrator, to put it mildly.
Exactly. And the source confirms the vast majority of the game stars Cloud, Strife, and his friends, so that core group dynamic is there. But then it drops this fascinating little detail.
The twist. I know exactly where you're going.
Glimpses of the past.
Yes. Specifically, it says the game has sequences starring Zack Fair.
Zack Fair. Now, for anyone who hasn't played the prequel, Crisis Core, Zack is... He's a ghost, a pivotal figure in Cloud's history, who, for all intents and purposes, isn't supposed to be around.
But normally that's just a flashback, right? A little movie clip. The source says sequences starring Zack Fair. That sounds like you play as him.
It implies gameplay, agency, and it creates this amazing duality. You're moving forward across the planet with Cloud into the future, but then you're playing these sequences with Zack looking backward.
So how do those two timelines interact? Why are we seeing the past right now?
Well, if the characters are in search of answers, maybe some of those answers aren't ahead of them in the open biomes. Maybe they're behind them with Zack.
Like an archaeological dig, you have to uncover the past to understand the present.
And from a gameplay standpoint, it breaks up the rhythm beautifully. You get the open world wandering, and then these focused linear narrative beats. It keeps you on your toes.
It sounds incredibly ambitious. But speaking of keeping us on our toes, let's talk about what we're actually doing in these biomes when we're not having memory-related crises. The source mentions myriad evolved gameplay elements.
Myriad is such a great PR word.
It is, but then it gets specific, and this is where my productivity is going to go to die. Mini-games.
Ah, yes, the hallmark of a great Final Fantasy. The world is ending, but first, let's play some cards.
First on the list, a card battler called Queen's Blood.
And notice the wording. They don't just say it's in the game, they say it's well-liked.
Well-liked. That's dangerous phrasing. That means it's actually good. That means I'm going to spend 40 hours in a tavern playing cards and 0 hours saving the planet.
It's the Gwent problem all over again. But there's a design reason for it. In these big exploration-based open areas, you need downtime. You can't be at 100% intensity chasing Sephiroth for 80 hours straight.
It grounds the world. Like, sure, there are monsters outside, but in here, people have hobbies. They have a competitive card league. It makes the world feel inhabited.
Exactly. And the second minigame they mention adds a totally different kind of texture. The piano.
The fun piano game. I was so intrigued by this.
Me too.
It says you can experiment with music or play songs from the soundtrack. That sounds surprisingly complex. It's not just press the button at the right time.
No, it's not a rhythm game. Experiment with music implies a creative tool. Like you can just sit down and play.
I can already see the viral videos, people playing pop songs on the piano on their Switch too.
Oh, for sure. But think about it atmospherically. You've been out in the grasslands, fighting monsters. You find a piano in an abandoned house. You stop, you play a song, maybe Tifa's theme. It just creates this moment of quiet reflection.
It really does. It sounds like they're balancing the high-stakes chase with these moments of just play.
Which turns the game from a story into a world you can live in. And that seems to be the core mission of Rebirth.
And doing all that on a handheld. I still can't quite get over it.
It's the elephant in the room.
So let's just recap the whole package. We've got the jump to a massive open world, dual storylines with Cloud and Zack, addictive card games, a creative piano. And it's all coming June 3rd.
June 3rd.
On the Switch, too. Which, if Integrate is any indication, is going to handle it just fine.
And that's the real headline here, I think. The barrier between console quality and handheld convenience is just getting thinner and thinner. If this runs as well as the last one did, it changes how we think about portable RPGs.
And for anyone listening who needs to know more, like right now, the source does mention there's a full review available and even a coverage hub all about the making of the game.
Yeah, that making of content is always fascinating, seeing how they actually squeeze these huge ideas onto a tiny cartridge.
Definitely. So, big picture, what's the takeaway here for our listener?
I think the takeaway for me is confidence. Square Enix isn't hiding this port. They're putting it out quickly. It tells me the Switch 2 is ready for these huge, sprawling experiences. And it means you don't have to be tethered to your TV to play one of the biggest stories in gaming.
It's a great time to be an RPG fan. But before we go, I keep coming back to that one phrase, in search of answers.
It sticks with you, doesn't it?
It really does. So they're chasing Sephiroth, running from Shinra, looking for answers, and we have these glimpses of Zack Fair, a ghost from the past.
It really makes you wonder.
It does. So here's a final thought to leave you with. If the game is all about physically moving forward across the planet, but narratively, we keep looking backward at Zack, what kind of answers are actually waiting for Cloud? Is the answer at his destination, or is it hidden in the history he's trying to run away from?
That is the question.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling the answer is going to change everything we think we know about this story.
Something to think about while you wait for June 3rd. That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.